good? Happy Thursday. So we were supposed to do a show today. Earlier, Malik forgot that he had a speaking engagement booked out at a school in the LA area. So he had to run and do that, of course, with traffic and everything. And of course, high school practice for his football team. We thought it best to push it back, but then I have things to do later this evening. So Left said he'll see you guys tomorrow. Don't forget, or not don't forget, because we didn't even let you guys know. But special announcement, tomorrow on For the Culture Friday, right here on Lucky Lefty Podcast, we will have special guests, former Virginia Cavalier running back, former Chicago Bear, New York Jets, NFL running back Thomas Jones will be joining us. That is the older brother of Notre Dame running back Julius Jones. Why will he be joining us? Well, he has a new docuseries coming out on Amazon Prime next week, talking about basically how difficult it is, or the difficulties of transitioning from the NFL to regular life for NFL players. I believe it's a 10-part docuseries, 2 different athletes. I know one of the guys that I'm familiar with is Spice Adams, formerly of the Chicago Bears, out of Penn State University. He's going to be highlighted how he transitioned from Chicago Bears and going into TV and media. So we're going to have Thomas Jones, former NFL running back, on Lucky Lefty Podcast with us, not to just talk about his docuseries, to talk about his connection to Notre Dame, how his younger brother eventually ended up in Notre Dame, the talent coming out of the Virginia area, and we'll talk about some more stuff surrounding college football. So tomorrow, 11 a.m., Thomas Jones, former NFL running back, For the Culture Friday, will be here on the Lucky Lefty Podcast. We spin it different. Now, it's amazing that we have the opportunity. I'm going to probably do about 30 minutes today. Really quick show, because like I said, I have some things I have to get to. I have a wedding tomorrow, wedding and reception, and then I have some homegoing services early Saturday morning, and then I have to sprint down to South Bend to make it there in time for a big announcement, a big show over on IB, and then the game itself. So full 2 days for the kid. We didn't want to leave you guys hanging. So we made the decision that it would be best for me to come on, do a quick show, and make the announcement about Thomas Jones tomorrow. And then we'll talk more about the Kareem Biggums. That's what's up. LL, that's what's up. Thank you guys for joining us. So let's get to it. Breakdown. Stanford invades South Bend, Notre Dame Stadium. Prime time, Saturday night. David Shaw brings his crew into the Bend to face off against 3-2 Notre Dame, who continues to improve and is looking to improve as they go through and move through this October schedule. Humongous recruiting weekend. We'll talk about that on the back end. But Stanford, just injury-wise, I mean, you just look at what they've been able to do offensively. If we look at the numbers, they're only putting up 26 points per game, 74th in the nation, 378 yards per game, 5.2 yards per play. That right there showed you that the lack of explosiveness in their offense, especially with Smith out at the running back position, some of the injuries they have along the offensive line. The one thing they do have is really big wide receivers and a really good tight end and a statue at quarterback that if you give him time, which this porous offensive line hasn't been able to do, they can give you some fits and they can put up points. But once again, it's going to be about this porous defensive line from Stanford and the porous Stanford defense, which is giving up 38.5 points per game, ranking 120th in the nation, 485 yards per game. right? 7 yards per play. That's crazy. The crazy thing is if they can get you to third down because of the defensive backs that they have, if they can get you to third down, they're holding teams to about a 34% conversion rate on third down, which is not great. Doesn't lead the nation, but is much better than the other defensive statistics when you measure them up. So the key for them is getting teams to third down, specifically third down and long. I'm sure they're going to try to get Notre Dame into third down and long, put the game on the arm of Drew Pine, double team Michael Mayer. They do have talent in the defensive secondary, and when they double team him, try to force throws, go a little more man-to-man, bump and run on the Notre Dame wide receivers. Some of the same things we saw from Ohio State, Marshall, and Cal early in the season. So it should be interesting. Talent-wise, this might be one of David Shaw's least talented teams. Question of the day. Which game do you think turned the tide in this rivalry? Which game or which moment in a game do you think turned the tide in the direction of the Fighting Irish in this rivalry? That is the LL question of the day. Opponents are running the ball 52% of the time against this offense and gaining 6 yards per rush against Stanford. I'll say that again. 6 yards per rush, and they're giving up 219 yards on the ground. I'll sit here and tell you this right now. If they give up 219 yards to Notre Dame tomorrow, it's a wrap. It is a flat-out wrap. Like, I don't care what they have offensively, it's a wrap. They average 26 points per game. Notre Dame has held every opponent beneath that average, if I'm not mistaken, by at least 8 points. So 18 points is the expected output from Stanford's offense in Notre Dame Stadium tomorrow night. Unfortunately, if they give up a 219-yard day defensively with their rush defense, it doesn't bode well. And that's with Notre Dame leaving points on the field the last 2 games against BYU and North Carolina. Man, one of my mentors, my coaching mentors, who was a man that was a longtime head coach in Chicago public school systems. He said something very interesting. Had a chance to see him this week and catch up with him. And he said this. He said, "Shaun, do you remember what I told you about football?" And I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "What did I tell you a long time ago?" I said, "You told me if they throw for 300, you have a chance. If they run for 300, you don't have a chance in hell to win that game." And it's so true. Like, even in the modern day of football, if you allow a team to run for 300 yards, more than likely, you're not winning that game at all. I mean, we've seen the greatest, the alleged, acknowledged by most, greatest quarterback of all time throw for 500 yards in the Super Bowl and come away with an L. So I remember he told me that a long time ago. Like, you can throw for 300, give up 300 in the air, and still have a chance to win. But there's no chance of you winning a football game if you give up 300 on the ground. So, man, just think about that when you look at the fact that Stanford on average gives up 219 yards per game on the ground. Seems like a perfect storm for the 3-headed monster of that backfield to come in and do more damage in Notre Dame Stadium on Saturday night. So one of the things that became very relevant or prevalent, when we talk about this offense was the emergence. Good to see the emergence of guys like Jaden Thomas last week. And he talked about it being more than just him. It's just the totality of what the coaching staff and Marcus Freeman is building in that wide receiver room and in the entire offense and roster.
Being part of the culture, the brotherhood, we all love each other, got love for each other. We try to encourage each other, and everybody's a leader. Freeman talks about it. Everybody needs to be a leader. Whether you're a true freshman, a fifth year, or star quarterback, everybody has a role in this place, and we got to lead each other because we're all brothers.
Wow. When you hear that He's not looking for leaders, to pull leaders. He's putting accountability on everyone to lead. Be an example. Take care of your brother. It's an interesting concept, and it seems that everyone is buying in. And one of the things you hear when you talk about that is Marcus Freeman, and he talks about how, of course, he's ecstatic with the way Drew Pine has played. But he also talks about how the offensive line and the tight ends and the wide receivers have also elevated their games to make Drew Pine look good and make that offense look better. And so it's a total team effort moving forward, right? The month of October, we've been saying this, since the Marshall loss. Hey, the rest of this season is about Notre Dame and how they play. The rest of this season is about Notre Dame and how they play. And however they play, that will let you know the outcome. If you get an A or B game from Notre Dame, they definitely win every game, in my opinion, except for one. I think it's going to take an A game to beat Clemson. You may be able to beat USC with a B plus game. Maybe. And the reason I say that is because I feel like the Clemson defense is far much better and is going to give the Notre Dame offense far more trouble than the USC defense. Like, we know USC is leading, one of the leaders in the nation in interceptions and sacks. But go look at that rush per yard and the run defense efficiency. Yeah. They stink. They stink. And what makes them so good is their offense is able to give them a lead. See, if they jump out in front, they get out by 10, they get out by 14, and then they allow the defensive line to come after the quarterback and their DBs to jump routes, it plays into what they can do defensively. But if you're right there with them and you can run the ball and be physical and keep their offense on the sideline, you will unmask the deficit on that defense. The lack of depth they have, the lack of weight and strength that they have, and their inability to stop the run. It's there for the taking. So a B plus game, in my opinion, can beat USC on the road because of that. And that plays directly into the strength of Notre Dame's offense. When it comes to Clemson, we're going to need an A effort to get that win. An A effort to get that win. Alan, thank you for tapping in. They could very well lose to UCLA. The USC could very well lose to Utah. Once again, hostile environment on the road, similar to what they faced against Oregon State. And they escaped against Oregon State barely. And in my opinion, Utah is better than Oregon State and can run the ball just as well. So we'll see. We'll see if they can hang with Utah in that hostile environment, because I expect Utah to come out playing with their hair on fire and running the ball right at that porous rush defense for USC. Should be a nice matchup this week. All right. So the offense moving forward, once again, each and every week, all we're asking for Drew Pine to give us is 220 yards and 2 touchdowns, no turnovers. That's it. Same thing this week. Give us 220, 2 touchdowns, no turnovers. We'll love it. We'll gladly appreciate it. And I think Drew Pine is going to exceed that once again. He's exceeded that the previous 2 games, minus the interception. I understand it was a tip ball, but based upon the replay, the linebackers really were converging on Michael Mayer. It was a good opportunity for them to possibly intercept that ball, even if it wasn't tipped at the line of scrimmage. So that was just a bad decision. He eyeballed him. We were driving down, ready to put the game away, and then you have a mistake like that. Something you can have. Notre Dame defense and its leadership stepped up there late in the 4th quarter to make sure that they secured the win for the Fighting Irish. Lucky Lefty podcast. I'm Shaun Davis. Malik Zaire is not here. He's going to join us tomorrow, and make sure you join us tomorrow at our regularly scheduled time, 10:45 a.m. And then at the top of the hour at 11 a.m. tomorrow Central Time, we're going to have former NFL running back Thomas Jones, who has a brand new docuseries coming out on Amazon Prime next week. He's going to join us right here for the Culture Friday. Lucky Lefty podcast. Don't forget, we spin it different. You have to love it. So, huge recruiting weekend, because we got I said I was going to give you guys 30 minutes today. I'm going to get to some of your questions and comments as well. Huge recruiting weekend coming up, right? St. Louis would most definitely be in the house. Christian Gray, 23 commit, defensive back out of Desmet High School in St. Louis. Then from St. Louis University High School, you have the number 1 wide receiver, Ryan Wingo. His guy from the he's in the 24 class, 24 wide receiver commit, and one of Ryan Wingo's best dudes, Cam Williams from Glen Ellen, Illinois. He's going to be in the place to be. 24 quarterback commit, CJ Carr is going to be in the place to be. 24 wide receiver target, Jeremiah McClellan out of Christian Brothers, teammate to 23 running back target, Jeremiah Love, also from Christian Brothers. All of them will be on campus. And I predict it's going to be a fantastic recruiting weekend. Also, Brandon Hillman, the new athlete that was offered just over 2.5 weeks ago, he will be in town for the Stanford game. Of course, Drake Bowen is going to be front and center recruiting like crazy, as he always does. So it's going to be a studded cast of recruits, star-studded cast of recruits converging on South Bend this weekend. Hopefully the product and the outcome is going to give them something that they will want to be connected to as Notre Dame faces Stanford. As I said before, you've seen it. Things are trending very well concerning Jeremiah Love. You also saw Jeremiah Love under the Instagram post when Keon Keeley dropped his top 4 the other day that included Notre Dame. He put Notre Dame in the comments. That bodes well for what he might be thinking if and when he decides to make a decision in the coming days. So we talked to, if you missed the show yesterday, we had our guy from 24/7 Sports, Coach Carl Reed, was on with us talking about college football, and he pointed out that the way St. Louis guys go, the relationship and the bond that they have, once one kid commits, the others usually love to follow. So that bodes well, because we already have Christian Gray, possibility of getting Jeremiah Love. They all have a great relationship with Ryan Wingo and Jeremiah McClellan and some other guys. He pointed out the history of Ezekiel Elliott, Jameson Williams, who just put in work for Alabama after he left Ohio State. The St. Louis area has truly been a fertile area when it comes to big-time elite football talent. So Drunk Vigo said we got to play Nelly for them. As I said before, a little birdie told me that they will. I've been calling them the St. Lunatics in my conversations with a couple of the guys. And they're going to do a St. Louis shoot together. That's the word right now. That's the word between them. They're going to take the opportunity to all come together, all the recruits and the commits, all the targets and the commits from the area of St. Louis, and do a photo shoot. It should be pretty dope. Should be a great weekend. Is there a possibility that Notre Dame gets maybe 2 commitments this weekend? Who knows? Everything could go right. You could get a blowout win, see some of the younger talent Kids like Jalen Sneed quite possibly getting on special teams, running down. Special teams reps usually leads to getting in the game and getting positional reps. But it was good to see him on the travel roster last week. Al Golden spoke glowingly about the young freshman linebacker and how he's progressed. And Malik pointed out to you guys how much easier it is to progress in the season for freshmen than it is in fall camp. So if you missed that, go back. Yesterday, Coach Carl Reed and the conversation about Jalen Sneed and his progression and why his progression has taken place during the season rather than fall camp. Malik did a great job of pointing that out on yesterday's show. So let's see. What else we want to talk about? I know you guys want to talk about some defense. So, we'll do that. We'll get to that coming up in a few minutes. We'll talk about the defense. Here's some clips from freshman defensive back Benjamin Morrison and what's made him so great in his short time at Notre Dame. He wasn't an early enrollee, but he came in and made an impact immediately. And I'll tell you, the moment I knew that he was going to be a dude, because the rest of the squad had his back. Coming up next, Lucky Lefty Podcast. So, subscribe, share, like, make sure you hit the notification bell, let everybody know. Lucky Lefty Podcast, we truly spin it different. So, when we look at things, Benjamin Morrison, he hasn't really been a surprise. He came in with a lot of confidence. If you watch his senior film, you see a kid that's a technician. He has deep NFL roots and DNA in his bloodline, knew how to play the game, knows how to carry himself, knows how to work, knows how to prepare. But he still came in and exceeded expectations, even before ascending to the number one spot at the field position for cornerback and unseating Clarence Lewis as the starter officially on the depth chart. He had been starting for 2 games prior, getting the first snaps with that first team defense when they took the field for the first time. He met with the media on yesterday, and Benjamin Morrison talked about his expectations and what he looks to moving forward.
High expectations for myself, so I wouldn't say I was surprised, but I was just, I was honored, and I feel like you don't come to Notre Dame just to be average. So I feel like in life you come to school like this to have opportunities like this. So yeah.
Since you've shown up at Notre Dame, where do you feel like you've improved the most from game?
I would say my press. Coach Mickens has really just technique-wise, splits has really helped me understand where to be aligned just pre-snap, and just off of alignment. It's been really helpful, and it's put me in really good positions.
That's good to hear from the freshman. Playing well, was confident, expected a lot of himself, but the thing that he got best at as soon as he got on campus was his technical things concerning his press. The one thing I was told by somebody is that, Brian Smith, when he joined us, he kind of echoed this sentiment. He said the moment Notre Dame walks out and they're able to press good teams, 60% of the time, they're turning the corner and turning it into a legit national championship contender. Because normally that means you have more than one 3-and-done guys at that position. And in order to be a legit contender, you probably need at least 3. 1, 2, 3, and I'm out. Defenders at the cornerback position. Now, I know I was very critical of the defensive backs for Alabama, but I challenge you to go watch Kool-Aid McKinstry this year in comparison to last year. He's a totally different player. Like, they put him out there as a freshman, and sometimes he looked absolutely lost. Super long, super athletic, super quick, super fast. You could see it in the return game, but his technique and everything opened him up to be taken advantage of. But they put him out there and they let him learn. And you see the difference this year now that he's become more technical at the position. I see the same thing. Benjamin Morrison already exceeding expectations, playing well, becoming the number one guy at that field corner. But most of all, willing to put in the work, willing to listen. But not only is he listening to his coach and spending time with Mike Mickens in the film room, he has some OGs that have definitely paid dividends and contributed mightily to the knowledge that he's using each and every Saturday.
Clarence, Reek, Cam, those dudes are just like they're really good. Like they're really good guys. So being young, coming in, you're kind of nervous and shy. But those guys really took me under and just really just showed me the ropes, and they continue to do every single day, and they pushed me to become the best player I can be.
And has it been helpful to kind of grow alongside Jaden Mickey as well?
Yeah, it's been really helpful. I mean, that's like my brother. So, I mean, we go through the same stuff, same schedule. So, like, we really have we can't really complain because he's doing the same thing I'm doing the same thing he's doing.
And what you've seen is just technically sound and just better equipped to be better at the press. Bigger kid, longer kid. Jaden Mickey built more for the slot. Asked to do a lot. I think Al Golden, and I think I'm going to play that clip one more time. We talked about it yesterday, and we gave a big shout out and kind of a clap it up for Al Golden to be able to recognize, look, man, some of these big mistakes, some of these big plays, you can't blame everybody else. Sometimes, we have to make sure that we're coaching a little bit better. And this is what Al Golden had to say about some of those faux pas in the third quarter and in the fourth quarter, giving up big plays in the passing game.
If we can just fix some of those letdowns that are, creating the explosive plays, and some of those calls are on me. Some of those I got to put our guys in a better position, including last week with Mick on the 53-yarder. I mean, I got to have a better call. We got to coach it better, and I failed him. I put him in a bad position in that spot, and it hurt the team. So we got to do it. We overall we just have to be consistent every play, and if we feel like we can't execute something, then throw it out. And
yeah, we've seen that particular blitz bringing the safeties from a long way away and from distance, which is more of an NFL exotic type blitz. Nah. You've been successful with some of the linebackers blitzing. Ramon Henderson, when he returns to the lineup, has been the best blitzer on the team, and he's been blitzing from right off of the line of scrimmage. That's when you've been effective blitzing. Blitzing from distance is something that has just been confusing as far as the coverage pickup for Jaden Mickey and some of the other guys. I think Tariq Bracy turned his back and let someone loose in the North Carolina game in zone coverage on a similar blitz. So Al Golden, recognizing that, taking accountability and saying, yo, that's my bad. I put him in the wrong position. Shouldn't have done that. That's on me. But not only do I need to take that off the plate, I still have to coach that. Still have to coach that better because we are going to use it at some point in some time. And it might be second year. Well, the rest of the kids are kind of like in their second year of the defense, and they truly understand coverages a little bit better. You have two true freshmen in the secondary getting a lot of reps. And the more you simplify and let them play to their strengths, the better they're going to be and the better off the defense is going to be when you're trying to close out games. Instead of giving up explosive plays, continue to tighten the screws and get easier wins and much easier fourth quarters. And possibly get some time for these youngsters, right? I would love to see a Jabron Payne this Saturday, and some of the other kids come in and get some reps. Lucky Lefty podcast. So, shout out to Bo Bauer, who unfortunately suffered a season-ending knee injury in practice yesterday, according to Marcus Freeman. I think right now, his reps were, or I won't say minimal, he was about double digits, maybe 10 reps per game defensively, but his importance on special teams, he's been an important cog on special teams for the last 3 seasons. So you can't take that lightly. You definitely can't take that lightly. The ascension of Jalen Sneed might signal that you see Jalen Sneed on special teams, or you see some of the other young linebackers on special teams, but they have young talent that they can place there on special teams. So I'm sure he'll be missed. That I'm sure of. But Notre Dame has talent. They have talent that can come in and produce special teams. As a matter of fact, the second straight week, Notre Dame barely, look out for this, I would say in the next 2 games. Against North Carolina and against BYU, Notre Dame barely missed. All might keep getting close to blocking a punt. This is the second straight game they were this close to blocking a punt. So let's look out for that. Because that special teams block or special teams big play could come in the next 2 weeks, because it seems like that unit is right there, that close to making something big happen. And anytime you can get that type of production from special teams, it's great. It's absolutely phenomenal. As before we get out of here, Andres Nieto. At what point does Drew Pine's success in the remaining season make the quarterback situation next year interesting? What teams will we have to beat? I'll be honest. I'm not so sure how. I'm sure how Marcus Freeman feels about the situation. I'm not so sure how Tommy Rees feels about the situation. And I hope that kind of explains it. I hope that explains it. But here's Marcus Freeman when he talked about Drew Pine.
He's starting to make some plays where he's improvising a little bit. You know, I know the one he's falling down, he throws the ball to Odrick, and we're kind of like, oh, okay. You know, that's one that we thought he's probably going to take a sack. But that comes with confidence. And, you know, I think when you start making the right decisions, you take care of the football, now you're seeing them start to make plays. And you know, what you're also seeing is some receivers and a tight end make them look really good, you know, and he'll get credit for that. But that catch that Jaden Thomas made for a touchdown was a heck of a catch. And I've always said it, man, quarterbacks will get praise and take blame for maybe certain areas that they don't have to. But, you know, it's good to see some guys making him look good and him making some plays.
There's Marcus Freeman, right? He's happy with the production he's getting for Drew Pine, but he knows that there's talent around him and that offensive line emerging that's making Drew Pine's job a whole lot easier and helping to make him look as good and as efficient as he's looked against North Carolina and against BYU. So that's how Marcus Freeman feels. Tommy Rees really believes in Tyler Buckner and the upside of Tyler Buckner. So naturally they say, you know, you can't lose your job to injury. Now, we've seen that hold fast, and we've seen that kind of be pushed to the side in other circumstances and situations. So with that being said, who knows what the situation, but I'm sure that if Notre Dame runs the table, which would mean a win over USC and Clemson, of course you would have to keep those wins in context and see how Notre Dame was able to win those games. If the offensive line and the running game is still leading the way in those games, and Drew Pine is just being efficient and not turning the ball over, then of course, you know, you probably go into the offseason with some decisions that need to be made and a quarterback battle in the spring on the horizon. If Drew Pine throws for 300 and 3 touchdowns in those games, then, you know, he's probably the incumbent when they come back for spring. So it should be interesting. It should be interesting. Now, I see the rest of your question here. What if we win 2 of the 3 games against Syracuse, Clemson? Dude, Syracuse is not stop. Syracuse is not as good as USC and Clemson. So the win against Syracuse really would just be, okay, we beat a team that we're better than. And we talk about Drew Pine and Tyler. What about the development of Angeli? I mean, what about it? That's up to, I know people feel different than me, right? This is one of the reasons why I don't bet, because ultimately the games are up to the players. And it's not because we're so smart or we figured out some tendency or no. Players decide who they want to be. So as much as he's being coached and under the same system as the other 2 guys, Steve Angeli's going to be as good as he wants to be. That's on him. So when you say, what about Steve Angeli? That's on him. His development is on him. Right? If he shows up to camp and he's making plays and he's outplaying those guys, he'll make his way. But that's on him. The one thing he can do is move really good, and you hope that he has a better arm. Should be interesting, though. Let's see. Hey, Matt Racky, thank you for tapping in. I'm all for this right here. Definitely. Definitely. Because you never know what can happen to Drew Pine in any game at any point. I totally agree. In the month of October, Steve Angeli needs some reps. He definitely needs some game reps. Notre Dame needs to take care of business, do their job, jump out in front, and beat up Stanford, UNLV, and then if they have a close game against Syracuse, that's on the road, that would be understandable. But the games that you should be able to get some of these younger guys in, UNLV, Stanford, absolutely. All right. Question of the day: which game turned the tide? The 2012 game changer with the 4th and goal stop. 2018 crushed the top 10 Stanford squad. Cool kid. Stanford is 1-4. This shouldn't be a close game at all. Totally agree with you. And just Neilo. 2012 goal line stand is the moment frozen in time until Stanford can stop that. That was Manti's moment there in the rain and all of that. Charles Faust, 2012 starting. I hope, not 21-12. We're not there yet. 2012 started to change, but 2018 broke Stanford's back in this series. Jamie McNeil, Shaun, with the game plan tailored around the abilities of Pine, will tailored around the abilities of Pine allow Notre Dame to win by 18 points. On average, like we said, Notre Dame has kept every team 8 points minimum under their average. It's 26 points a game for Stanford. That means they should hit the 18-point mark, which means Notre Dame has to score 36 points. They should have had 40 last week. So, look. And really, if they tidy up the mistakes defensively and don't give up big plays on busted coverages, heck, they probably would have held BYU in the teens, honestly. So if they play clean football, not perfect, just clean football, yes, they should be able to cover 18 points against this Stanford squad. I would feel comfortable with that, especially at home. I would feel comfortable with that. Michael Johnson, thank you for tapping in. Shaun Malik, what do you know about Roke Cholowski? You know, the kid that just got the double offer, scholarship offer from Notre Dame. He's a quarterback. I don't know anything. I don't know anything. And I don't really think I don't know anything. So give me some time. Give us some time to watch film. And yeah, we'll get something on that for you. Robin Dennis. Hi, Shaun. What's up, Robin? Do you think any other ND players can get similar NI deals like Mickey got? Well, I don't know if he has really gotten a deal yet. If he did, I missed that. I know he signed on with Rock Nation for management, and that's a really good sign because in order for them to sign him, they probably presented him with multiple opportunities to get him to sign. So he probably has some opportunities on the table already. So absolutely. 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 It is such a breath of fresh air when we win a coin flip and defer. That was pretty cool last week. That was pretty cool. Like, put the defense out there. That was pretty cool. 10 days. This game to game, we score over 40. I'm going to stay in the 30s. I'm going to say 35-17. That's that 18-point spread. We'll see. My God, what's good? For the way we dominate games, we don't put up points. And I'm not sure if it's because of our pro-style offense or what it is. We're just not the team that really pulls away even while dominating. That's because, look, you don't have an aggressive play caller. You don't. You just don't. You just don't, right? So until you can come out, have a couple series to really be that 40-point per game offense, you have to have a minimum 2 series where you come out 2-3 plays, go 70 yards, and put 7 on the board. Just bang, bang. Notre Dame doesn't have that right now. They don't. And I don't think it's because of the talent. I really think it's because of the play call. I think the opportunities are there. I'll go a step further because I can't put it all on Tommy Rees. I think a lot of it falls on Tommy Rees, but the quarterbacks have had opportunities to bang big plays, and they just haven't done it. Flat out. Tyler had multiple opportunities to bang big plays while he was playing, and he just missed them. Flat out. He just flat out missed them. So the opportunities have been there. It falls on the quarterbacks to take the throws, make the throws, and then, just being aggressive, right? You can't be 4th and goal on the 2-yard line calling a screen pass for Michael Mayer. Like, what are we doing? Like, what are we doing? You can't get inside the 10 and call 3 straight runs. Take a chance on first down. Go play action. You've rammed the ball down their throat all the way down the field. Go play action on first down. Spread it out. Take your 6'5" freshman wide receiver. Throw the ball up and let them go get it. Take some opportunities. Heck, throw Eli Raridon and Holden Stays out there against a cornerback and throw it up and let them go get it. Be aggressive, man. Be aggressive and go after 7. Right. The shuffle pass and all that type stuff. Man. Shaun, do you think Foskey has hurt his draft stock at all because he hasn't really had that dominant breakout game this year like he had last year? No, I think he's pretty much in the same range, late first, early second. This season was about him solidifying himself in the teens. I don't think he was ever going to be top 10, but if he had a really good season, he would really solidify himself. Someone in the range of 10 to 20. And right now, he's still late first to early second round. Scouts still like him. So, yeah. At 3, to us, from our expectations, I would agree with you. But, people that sit down and, pour over all of the game film and look at his length and his speed and his quickness and his ability to drop in coverage, which goes directly into what they want in abundance in today's NFL, he's valuable. He's seen as being valuable. So, let's see. Jacob Staley. I hope I said that correctly. Your Reese, well, he's not my Reese, but your Reese is the one developing these quarterbacks, and he's the one recruiting them. I agree. I mean, I guess he was going back to the point that I made. Like, it's funny, right? Because we tell kids you can go anywhere in the world, you can go to any college and be successful. If you want to be successful, that's on you. That's what we tell kids, right? And then for some reason, when it comes to football and coaching, we want to put blame on these coaches, right? We forget that parenting is learning to let go at a certain point, and then, the children having to prove what you taught them over the 18 to 21 years. And they're going to make mistakes, and they're going to fail. And they have to learn how to get up and continue. And I don't care where you go, that's going to be the case. And so when you talk about quarterbacks, you have those C.J. Strouds, Bryce Youngs that are just no-brainers, right? Trevor Lawrence, Deshaun Watson, that's the upper echelon, right? Notre Dame hasn't had one of those guys. Haven't been able to attract one of those guys. So you can throw that at the feet of Brian Kelly. You can throw that at the feet of Tommy Rees, by all means, from a recruiting standpoint. Development standpoint, I just can't blame. I refuse to blame Tommy Rees for how Drew Pine played early against Cal. I refuse. And I refuse to throw flowers at the feet of Tommy Rees as he enters the Goog because of what Drew Pine has done against North Carolina and BYU. Drew Pine, he deserves that credit. He deserves that credit. We can talk about all this coaching. Tommy Rees didn't do anything magical from a coaching standpoint that made the change in Drew Pine. You know what he did? He got on the phone in front of everybody on national TV, and he told the young man to do your damn job. That's it. That's all he did. And he went to the running game. That's all he did. He made one minor adjustment. I'm taking the ball out of his hands. I'm going to this run game. We're dependent upon this offensive line, and then we're going to let him make throws that are easy for him. That's all he did. He didn't coach him up. He didn't make this sit down and watch this ton of film. Yo, you don't need film to throw a 5-yard out. You don't. Make the throw. Make the throw. And what they're asking Drew Pine to do, like Drew Pine still, in my opinion, struggles pre-snap. I would like for him to progress a little bit quicker through his options on pass plays. I would like for him to whip his head around on play action a little bit faster. These are all things, just watching the game, that I would like him to do. And I'm sure he's being told this. But until he makes it up in his mind to go out and execute what he's being told, at some point, the accountability has to rest with the players. I think it was Marcus Freeman who laid out his flow chart. I tell my players, or I tell my coaches, if they make a mistake, that's on you. You have to coach it better. And eventually, when you go to them and you talk to them, that player will say, Coach, yes, you did tell me that. You did coach me to do it that way. Okay, this is on me to go out and execute it. That's it. At the end of the day, when they take the field, the accountability for execution, for the most part, lies with the players. We just played Al Golden talking about putting Jaden Mickey in a bad position. Coaches can have an impact with their decisions, play calling, and putting guys in bad positions. But as far as like, the system, I will say this, going back to what he said. The history of regression at the position at Notre Dame does cause one to say what the heck is going on with the coaching. I'm all like I said, I give you the recruiting, I give you that with the history of regression at the position. But at some point, when it comes to like just making the easy throws that are there, that we've seen Drew Pine and Tyler Buckner both miss at times during the season, I can't put that on coaches. That sometimes guys just have to make plays. Lucky Lefty Podcast. Man, hope you enjoyed the show. I said I was going to give you 30. I'm still sitting at like 52 minutes. Love talking. Love spending time with LL Nation. Don't forget tomorrow, normal time, 10:45 a.m. We're going to have former NFL running back Thomas Jones talking about his new docu-series on Amazon Prime coming on tomorrow. We'll talk about it. Matter of fact, I think the 18th is the premiere. He'll be on with us at 11 a.m. tomorrow to talk about that, his connection to Notre Dame, and some more stuff coming up. NFL, CFB. I definitely know he wants to talk NIL. He's very interested in that. All right? You know what time it is.
Petticoat. Petticoat Junction.
It's time to get petty.
Oh, we did a good job executing.
Are you upset with something?
And fire up the Petticoat Junction train.
I just don't like you.
You don't?
No.
What is today's pettiest story? Petty Junction.
Petty Junction, pettiest story of the day, brought to you by Onora Whisky, OnoraWhisky.com. And Premium American Whiskey, OnoraWhisky.com. If you drink, make sure that you drink responsibly. You know who's petty, man? The NFL. For pushing this Thursday night football, which is always a sub package or subpar package of NFL football. It's just bad NFL football. Just bad. Maybe you get Chiefs Chargers last year, Chiefs Chargers this year. Every now and then you get a good one. Come on, man. Bears, Commanders? Bruh. Really? I'm from Chicago, and I'm sitting here telling you, I'm not watching that. I'm not wasting my night watching the Bears and Commanders on Thursday night football on a short week. No. I value my time way too much. Daniel Snyder, you're super petty, bro. Owner of the Washington Commanders, who tried to hold on to that former name and the former logo when everybody in the world was reading the room like, dude, let it go, move on. This dude, now he's out here threatening everybody, talking about, before you take my team or before you take me out, I'm taking down the entire ship, the entire NFL. I got something on all y'all. That dude is trying to be Denzel up in the NFL offices at 345 Park Avenue. He thinks King Kong ain't got nothing on him. But little does he know, you need to relax, bro. Mess around, something ends up in your brandy at night when you're trying to have a nightcap. You need to relax. Threatening Jerry Jones, talking about you have a folder on him. You need to relax. That's how people come up missing. You need to chill. You need to chill, my man. That's real talk. Stop being petty. Stop being petty. Last but not least, you know what? No, I'm going to save that petty for Malik, specifically because he's out in LA. So tune in to see which one I saved. It's an LA story. Very interesting. Lucky Lefty Podcast. Have a great day. We appreciate you guys. See you tomorrow. Once again, former NFL running back Thomas Jones, big brother to former Notre Dame running back Julius Jones, will join us on the Lucky Lefty Podcast. Have a great evening. But most of all, make sure that you spend it differently.